What's up guys, Das is here with another video, and today we're diving into something a little more serious, the deep desert in Dune Awakening. Whether it's your first time stepping past the border or you've already got a camp set up and you're living out there full time, there are things you absolutely need to know. Because let's be real, go in unprepared and you're either gonna die, lose your ornithopter, or you end up rage quitting. But don't worry, I've got your back. I've put together 15 things every survivor, from rookie to full-blown Fremen, needs to know before heading into deep desert. Grab some water, strap in, and let's get into it. Alright, let's start simple. The first thing you need to know when heading into deep desert is you're basically going in blind. The whole map is fogged by default, no POIs, no terrain, nothing. So yeah, it's easy to feel completely clueless out there. That's why the first item you absolutely need to bring is a probe launcher. It's your main tool for surveying the deep desert. With it, you can uncover the map tile by tile, revealing point of interest, terrain, and all the good stuff. But let's be real, doing that manually, it's a grind, like 80 plus tiles of desert grind. But before I actually tell you how you can maximize the speed of surveying the areas, here's how it works. Once you're out there, look for the highest stone or hill you can climb. Get a good vantage point and fire off a probe that will survey the surrounding area and reveal it on your map. From there, you'll see all the POIs, potential resource, and travel routes in that tile, anything that you need. Now you don't need to survey every single tile one by one. That would take forever and honestly isn't worth it for most players. I'll show you a way later in the video to speed this process to maximum, and it doesn't require surveying the entire map yourself. So for now, just remember, grab a probe launcher before heading into deep desert. It's your first step to surviving and not wandering aimlessly until a sandworm hits you. Alright, so you've surveyed your first area. You're out in the deep desert for the first time. Now what? Here's mistake number one you want to avoid right away. Don't go straight for the shipwrecks. I know, the loot sounds tempting, but trust me, it's a trap for new players. Even though half the deep desert is PvE territory, shipwrecks are always PvP zones, just like they were back in Haga Basin. Doesn't matter where they spawn, the second you step into one, you're flagged, and guess what? People in the deep desert are ready for PvP. You'll run into gankers, campers, and big squads, people just waiting to ruin your day. Here's a perfect example. I was one step away from grabbing the chest, and boom, 3 dudes jumps out of nowhere and wipe me. I didn't stand a chance, right? So yeah, unless you're geared, confident and looking for a fight, don't make shipwrecks your first stop. What to do instead? Go for the Imperial Labs. These are PvE friendly dungeons scattered across the deep desert, and they're 100% safe if they're in a PvE zone. You can walk in, loot what you want, and get out. No PvP risk as long as you're careful getting there. Just be aware, Imperial Labs are often near shipwrecks, and even flying close to one of those PvP zones can be dangerous for new players. You've got people in ornithopter just camping in the air, waiting to shoot you down, or with the handheld rocket launcher, any anti-air setups. So plan your approach carefully, stick to clear routes, keep your eyes on the map, and don't fly directly over any wreck icons. But why you should go to the labs? Because Imperial Labs have guaranteed good loot. We're talking at least Mark 5 gear, valuable components, solaries, and other materials you won't find in safer zones like the Haga Basin. So your early deep desert priority should look like this. Survey some areas, locate nearby Imperial Labs in PvE zones, go loot them, bank the loot. We'll talk about temporary base soon in the video, but for now just go and bank them in Haga and avoid shipwrecks until you're geared up and know what you're doing. Alright, but don't think it's just grab your probe launcher and go. No, deep desert is harsher and way more demanding than the usual zones. So, first you need to grab water and lots of it. The heat level in deep desert is higher, which means you're gonna dehydrate faster. If you're not ready, you'll be collapsing before you even find your first lap. So here's what to do. Bring the biggest water container you have. Fill it completely before heading out. Set your hotkey for water to something easy to reach. You're going to need it often. Also, don't forget you can hit T on your keyboard that shows zone info, including hit levels, and a lot of more other useful stats for wherever you are on the map. It's super useful, so make sure to use that to see what is the hit level in the zone and many other useful infos. Next one is the fuel, and lots of that too. If you're flying between tiles with your ornithopter, you're burning through fuel way faster than normal driving. Bring at least one large vehicle fuel cell, and bring more if you're planning a longer route. And here's something a lot of players don't realize. You don't need to land to refuel. While you're flying, just press F, hold it, choose the gas icon, and you can refuel mid-air easy. But if you're running out of gas so fast, make sure to check the Planetologist skill tree. There's a passive perk that reduces your ornithopter fuel consumption. Level that up, especially if you're planning to make long trips in the deep desert. Trust me, you'll save a ton of fuel over time. So, before you go any further, get a probe launcher, water, fuel, smart hotkeys, and passives. Alright, now you're almost ready to push even deeper. But there's one major thing you need to understand about the deep desert, and that's how it resets. Every Tuesday, the deep desert resets. That means all point of interests, labs, stations, crash ships will move. Any base or structure you had there gone, your temporary base will wipe, the entire layout changes every single week at Tuesday. So if you're thinking, hey, I remember that lab was at D7 last week, yeah, it will not be there anymore. And before the reset happens, if you have anything in the deep desert, a base, a storage, or whatever, disassemble it and transport everything back to the safe zone. I mean Haga Basin. Once the reset hits, it's all gone. This is what makes the endgame fun and dynamic. Every week is a fresh hunt and you need to be ready for that. So here's the fun part. Every week there's a new loot table in the deep desert. That means different weapons, gear, and rare items. And specific tiles will spawn a specific loot. It's not totally random, it's controlled. Each week has its own set of available gear. You'll be hunting for what's hot this week, and the next week it might change. It might not be the item that you found there. And don't worry about this one, I will tell you how you can check each week loot table, and that will make it way more easier. But the next thing that you need to be aware of is the crash ships. Yeah, you've probably seen those flying ships crash into the sand randomly. And the sandworm is always around there, so it's dangerous, but the loot could be insanely good. Sometimes even outside the normal loot table, so it's kinda random. So make sure when they drop, go there and grab the items inside, but you need a cut ray to break open. But here's a tip, the closer the crash site is to higher value northern zones, the better loot you'll likely find inside. And it is the same thing for every POI you visit. So it doesn't matter. When you start from the south, the loot is just getting better and better the more you go toward north. So it's always like that. So even after reset, this rule stays the same. The further north you go, the higher the quality of loot you'll find. But as I promised you how you can speed up the exploration, here it is. Re-exploring every tile each week is exhausting. So here's how to speed that up. Go to the website called Dune Awakening Database, as you can see here. On the bottom right, click Deep Desert. You'll see a full map broken down by tiles. A1 to A9, B1 to B9, all the way up to I1 to I9. You can zoom in and see exactly where the labs and POIs are this week. Even you can check for the resource, the spies, everything. So scroll down a bit and here you find this week's loot table. For example, this week you might find the darts for everyman, black market, las gun, which is perfect for raiding, and I will talk about that as well. But don't forget, this website might take a day or two to update after the weekly reset, but be patient to check it out after the reset to see where is all those POIs and everything that you want to find. But hey, before we go any further, real quick, if you're enjoying the video or finding it helpful, hit that like button and consider subscribing. It really helps push the channel out there, and I seriously appreciate the support. Fun fact is, over 99% of people watching right now aren't even subscribed. So if that's you, help me out for a second. Hit that subscribe button, it makes a huge difference. Thanks for that, let's get back into the video. And don't forget, it even tells you when the next wipe is, so make sure to check this website after every Tuesday reset. Alright, so now you've got a good idea of how the weekly loot tables and reset works. Let's talk about something that a lot of players ignore, but probably shouldn't, and that's control points and the Landsrat War. So here's the deal. Every week, factions are battling for dominance, and your contribution can actually make a difference. The more points your faction earns, the better your weekly rewards. Let me break this down real quick. When a new week starts, player can vote on 3 different objectives and they rotate every week. To see this, just press L on your keyboard. That opens up the Landsrat tab. From there, you'll see your faction's progress, what tasks are active, and what rewards are on the line. As you already know, there are 2 main factions in this game, House Atreides and House Harkonnen. By doing tasks tied to your chosen faction, you earn points that includes stuff like gathering certain materials, killing mobs, or completing a specific objective. But let's talk about the control points specifically. These are areas out in the deep desert where, if you stand in them and complete objectives, just staying there, you'll gain points toward your faction. Sounds great, right? But here's the catch. You only gain like 10 points per minute, and to unlock even the first reward, you might need to sit there for over an hour. So here's my honest advice. Unless you're running with an organized group or clan, control points really aren't worth your time as a solo player. But if you're a part of a team and you're playing with your team, totally different story. In that case, it can seriously help your faction in the weekly Landsrat war. Now I'm not going to deep dive into the whole Landsrat system here, because honestly it's a full video on its own, and if you guys want that, just drop a comment below and I'll break the whole thing down in a future video. But for now, just remember, control points means faction points, and faction points means better weekly rewards, simple as that. Alright, now let's shift gears, because if you've been wandering around the deep desert, you might have heard something strange, maybe even booming. Yep, we're talking about spice explosions. If you remember the little spice pops in Haga Basin, it's kinda like that, except this time way bigger. When a spice explosion hits in the deep desert, you'll hear that same crackling sound, and it means there's a massive pile of spice just waiting to be farmed. But don't get too excited yet, and if you're going there, bring your compactor, bring some backup, and maybe bring a backup ornithopter too, just in case. You can't do that, but anyway. These spice farms are risky, but for big groups, they're some of the best rewards out there, and some kinda the end game of this game is all rely on that. So if you're hearing explosions and you're geared for PvP, it might just be your moment to go there and grab some for yourself, but it's risky. Now we're getting to a part a lot of people are confused about, how the raid system actually works in this game. So yeah, raids do happen in Dune Awakening, but there are some key rules to understand. Clans can raid enemy bases in deep desert, but only if those bases are in PvP zones. You can't raid anyone in PvE areas, those are protected unless you're glitching or something. To raid, you'll need rockets or lasguns to break through walls, but here's the catch, you can't start a raid at just any time. You've got to wait for the desert storm to hit. Once that sandstorm starts rolling in, usually every hour, the enemy walls become vulnerable, that's when you move in. As you can see in the gameplay, we're waiting near a base, watching the storm roll in. Once the storm almost hits, boom, we're able to start damaging their defenses. But heads up, this often triggers PvP fights because other players will defend their base. So yeah, if you're raiding, be ready for some action. If you're a solo player, I highly recommend building your base in a PvE zone instead of the open PvP zones. You'll tank me later. People get raided fast if they're just not ready, especially out in the open. And even if you're still there, you can get outnumbered and people can raid your base. So just not worth it. Go and build some base in PvE zones. Not in Haga Basin, just a little bit before the PvP border. Alright, let's talk about what you drop when you die, because I know a lot of players are nervous about that and many people has asking me what you actually drop. So first off, you don't lose your equipped gear, which is great news. You do lose durability on it when you die to other players, but it won't just disappear. Here's what you drop. Fuel, high drop rate, so don't carry more than you need. Ammunitions, you lose some of it. Solaries, yep, your wallets take a hit, and only the one that you have in your inventory, so you lose cash. So whatever you deposited in the bank will not be touched. You lose blueprints, definitely be careful carrying these into dangerous zones. Make sure to not die to any players because it will drop any components, all crafting mats and parts you're holding. Basically, you keep your weapons and armor on death, but anything in your backpack, especially important or rare stuff, can be dropped. So only bring what you're willing to lose. But now what? After I died, what happens? You'll get the option to respawn. My number one tip here is do not respawn at Haga Basin. There have been reports that people lose items doing that. Instead, choose a safe respawn point in the deep desert. Here's how it works. First respawn takes 60 seconds. Each death after that increases the wait time. You can respawn at your base, your last used vehicle, any respawn beacons that you placed, or Imperial stations, those with the hologram checkpoint doors. So any door that you pass by in the Imperial station is kinda work as a checkpoint. Those hologram doors act like save points, and they are really useful. If you're enjoying the game or just want to stay up to date with the guides, mechanics and deep dives, subscribe to the channel. I'm dropping a new Dune Awakening content daily. Let's grow together, explore the world and get better at it as a community. Thanks for watching. See you guys on the next one. Much love, and as always, peace out.